Hi class, welcome back. Now, today we're going to explore in one of these deep dives the Salem Witch Trials. Now, these trials took place in 1692 in the Puritan town of Salem, Massachusetts, and it will result in the execution of 20 people and left a dark mark in American colonial history. Now, what led to the mass hysteria? Well, that's what we're going to discuss in the next few minutes. Now, to understand the Salem Witch Trials, we need to begin with life in Puritan New England. The Puritans were a deeply religious group of people. They believed that their community was constantly under threat from the devil. They believed that the devil worked through witches, and these were people who had made pacts or contracts with him to gain supernatural powers. Now, Salem Village, like much of New England, is a deeply religious society, and the fear of witches and the devil was very, very real. And this is not unique to Salem. There were examples of other witch trials that had taken place in Europe within the past 100 years. Now, add to that years of local tension, land disputes, rivalries between families, economic struggles, and you've got a community on the edge. Tensions, again, are a very powerful motivator to not think logically. So this is the perfect environment for suspicion and fear to take hold. Now, the Salem Witch Trials began, as I mentioned before, in early 1692 when a group of young girls in Salem Village began to exhibit very strange behaviors. They screamed, they contorted their bodies, they claimed to be possessed by witches. And soon they started accusing others in the village of being responsible for this torment. Now, the first people accused were women on the margins of society. Tituba was an enslaved woman of African or Native American descent who was a slave in the Reverend Parris's household. Sarah Good, a homeless beggar. Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman who had not attended church with any regularity. These were the earliest to be accused of witchcraft. And these women were easy targets. So their accusations quickly would spiral out of control when it drew attention. As we start to see the events unfold. Now, the trials that followed were based on flimsy evidence. It included spectral evidence, testimony that a person's spirit had been committing witchcraft, or even if the accused was not physically present. Those who were accused had little chance of proving their innocence. If they confessed, they could avoid execution, but they would have to implicate others. Okay, so you admit that you're a witch. Who else is a witch? If they denied the charges, they risked being hanged. And these folks weren't burned like you see in Hocus Pocus. They were hanged, and that was the main means of execution. And, okay, so you say, I'm not a witch. Well, prove to me you're not a witch. How do you prove a negative? Okay, how do you prove that you're not a witch? Well, it's not something that can be proven. So between June and September of 1692, 20 people will be executed. 19 will be hanged, and one man by the name of Giles Corey will be pressed to death with heavy stones for refusing to enter a plea. Several others will die in prison awaiting trial. The majority of those were women, but men were caught up in the hysteria as well. And a pretty good movie that kind of gives you the atmosphere of it is the movie The Crucible, which was based on a play by the same name. And we could do a whole video on just how The Crucible ties into the events of the 1940s, 1950s when it was written, part of the Red Scare movement of the post-World War II America. So again, they tie the two events together because it's the same kind of deal. How do you prove a negative? So moving on though, as accusations continue to mount, the trials begin to lose public support. Many in the community start to question the validity of the charges and the fairness of the proceedings. Prominent ministers such as Increase Mather is going to voice concerns. He famously states, it's better that 10 suspected witches should escape than one innocent person be condemned. And personally, I think this may be one reason why we have eventually a push for a Fifth Amendment to protect the rights of the accused. Think about what the Fifth Amendment does. So in October of 1692, Governor William Phips reacts to the growing public outcry. And so he dissolves the special court that had been overseeing the witch trials. The remaining accused would eventually be released, and by early 1693, the hysteria is pretty much at an end. So what is the legacy of the witch trials? First off, it shows us that we need to be very cautious about mass hysteria. The breakdown of due process, especially in times of fear. The idea of scapegoating, pushing things off on other people, making accusations of others. And so in the years following these trials, many involved, including judges and jurors, are going to express a significant amount of regret for their role in the executions. In 1697, The Massachusetts General Court will declare a day of fasting and soul searching for this tragedy, and in 1702 the trials were officially declared to be unlawful. Should never have happened and violated the laws of the colonies. So today, historians continue to study the trials, examining how fear and religion and politics and local tensions all combined to create what would become an out-of-control situation that would last a little bit less than a year in Salem, Massachusetts. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, one of my little short deep dives, less than 6 minutes. If this has been helpful, hit the little thumbs up there, and I'll see you down the road with the next one. You guys take care. Good luck on any tests or any studies that you have going forward.